Back in 1835 in Agra, India, something happened that would change everything. It began with a single arrest. A ragged man, hauled in by a zamindar's police after a caravan went missing, sat under the white sun of the northwestern provinces and, pressed for answers, began to speak. His story did not end with a single theft or a lone murder. It opened a map, a network of bands, trade routes, and secret rites that stretched from the Deccan to Bengal. The confession reached the desk of William Henry Sleeman, a practical and relentless officer of the East India Company. What he read would reshape how the British governed and how India would remember a terrible, hidden criminal world. For generations, travelers had disappeared from the highways, merchants, pilgrims, colonels on hawking parties. The killers moved with the seasons, joined caravans as friends, sang at evening fires, and when the moment came, killed with a single practiced gesture. They used the rumal, a knotted handkerchief, slipped over a neck, the knot tightened by a thumb so deft that no marks remained. Loot was divided, bodies hidden, and tales to explain disappearances given to families long after. To themselves, some claimed devotion to the goddess Kali. To others, they were simply professional thieves who had fashioned a system of camouflage, ritual, and silence. Sleeman's investigation turned a scatter of murders into a single story: Thuggee. He organized prisons, rewards, and interrogations with a grim ingenuity. Prisoners were moved from district to district and confronted with questions designed to force recognition. One confession led to another, and a chain developed, a chain that traced movement, membership, methods, and leaders. Sleeman published his evidence in official reports and in Ramasyana, a collection of confessions and accounts that shocked readers in Calcutta and London. These documents revealed that the network was not a loose cluster of highway robbers, but, in many cases, organized family gangs with initiation rites, roles, and rules. The conspiracy was as practical as it was theatrical. Thug bands specialized. Some were lookouts, others played the friend, others strangled. They adapted to changing trade patterns and to the arrival of new roads and railways. When the East India Company increased travel and commerce, building barracks and opening markets, it only made more prey available. Sleeman's work exposed the anatomy of that predation, how victims were chosen for wealth and vulnerability, how bodies were concealed, how loot was laundered through local markets. His files included maps of routes, lists of aliases, and the rumal's grim ritual described in chilling detail. The British response combined policing and legal reform. Sleeman set up the Thuggee and Dacoity Department, used informers, arranged for convoys, and introduced punishments that could be swift and public. Arrests multiplied, trials were held in presidencies and forts. The spectacle of batches of prisoners paraded before magistrates and the regular imposition of death sentences sent a message meant to break the old code of silence. By the early 1840s, thousands of suspects had been rounded up, and the practice of professional thuggee as a widespread organized institution was curtailed. Yet the records themselves are ambiguous. The company's figures were sometimes inflated, and later historians have argued that colonial anxieties and administrative ambitions shaped how the problem was framed and resolved. Still, the immediate human cost was undeniable. Families learned of treacheries long hidden. Merchants altered routes, convoys and escorts became common. For colonials, Sleeman's campaign became proof of the civilizing reach of law. For Indians, it was a complicated remedy, needed protection stitched to intrusive policing, and a narrative that made entire communities suspect. In the end, the rumal became a symbol of a shadowy violence that had thrived in the margins of empire, and of the way power responded when commerce and control converged. Sleeman's investigations did not simply break gangs, they produced a story written into official reports and public imagination of a vast conspiracy that had preyed on the roads of India for generations. That story changed administration, trade, and lives. It turned the open highway into a contested space where policing, confession, and the politics of empire met, and where a single arrested man's words could unravel a hidden network and force a reluctant reckoning.